would be things like the meat. So most of the time, hunters are interested in the trophy, in the horns or the pelt of the animal, and if it's something like a kudu, for example, they're interested in the very long and curly horns. That's all they want to put up on their shelf or wall at home. And oftentimes what will happen is that the animal is shot, it will be skinned, and the meat will be used not only for running that camp, but a large portion of that meat is then given to the people who work directly on that property. So while meat, unless there's a very large scale operation, in Zimbabwe, for example, if an elephant is shot as a trophy, all of the surrounding communities around that farm are invited to participate in basically butchering the animal, because the hunter and the professional hunter, the guide if you will take the tusks and the skin. And so the animal is very carefully skinned, and that is removed and treated, and the tusks are removed, and they have to get a CITES tag in order to be exported and so on. And then everything else, the communities are invited to, take as much of the animal as possible. And you think about an elephant, okay, a lot of that is going to be internal organs, and well, some of it is going to be internal organs and so on, but you've got upwards of 5.5 tons of animal, and there's going to be the bone and everything else. But a lot of those rural communities that don't have much access to a regular supply of protein will get that. In the Eastern Cape, by contrast, we certainly don't see any elephant hunting, so that kind of thing does not happen. But we do have, rather than trophy hunting, we do have a number of national parks, a number of provincial reserves that have to cull prey species when they don't have large predators present. So there are a number of those in and around Grahamstown and the Eastern Cape in general, and because they don't have large predators, their prey species are constantly increasing, and they need to use culling to manage those game species, kudu for example. So on some reserves you may see 100 to 200 kudu being removed annually, hunted from the population or culled from the population. That meat is then sold to local communities at a very, very reduced rate, something like 6 rand a kilogram, which is just about for free. So there is that kind of direct benefit to communities. Sometimes surrounding communities are invited to take part in, are given concessional hunts, and they are able then to sell that on their own, and they can come onto a property and shoot an animal and get the trophy fee from the client that comes from overseas, or sell the meat themselves, or whatever else. In South Africa and in the Eastern Cape, we don't have a sort of compensation type system whereby when there are hunts there's a proportion that goes to the surrounding community or anything like that. Zimbabwe had a sort of a system called Campfire, where that was the approach was to actually have a system that natural resources can be used, but then the funds or the benefits, the financial benefits of that are filtered back into communities. So we don't have that, but there are those direct benefits in the form of obtaining meat. There's also employment opportunities for local communities that wouldn't necessarily be there. As I said earlier, on a sort of bog standard livestock farm, far fewer employees are present compared to a hunting farm that will require trackers, skinners, waiters, cooks, cleaners, and so on, because you've got much more upmarket lodges and so on, whereas a farm has got one farmhouse, one farmer, one person takes care of the sheep, one person works in the house, and then that's it. So certainly the direct or the number of employment opportunities is probably higher as well.